All right. Hello and welcome all to the Omega Republic's Suiting Up for Life. Here on the Omega Republic, we are a radio podcast program for the furry and brony community. I am your host, Coppercap. Joining me today was supposed to be DJ Arc, but he has gone aloof. But Delta Kruger is here to help and manage the YouTube stream. He'll be here, but I will more or less be doing the interviewing on this occasion. But anyways, we thank you for joining us here on Suiting Up for Life, where we seek out those in the furry and brony fandom and get to know what it's like to be a furry and or brony and what they do to make who they are a part of the community. Today, joining us from Ohio, we have Rain.
Hello, hello.
Yes. Well, anyways, we do have a charity to speak of before we get started. We would like to give a shout out to the Animal Humane Societies that are across the country and across the world. Make sure to keep in mind for all the Animal Humane Societies, all the volunteers, the workers, the programs, all put in place to help our furry friends to stay safe, healthy, and to find their homes. So please keep that in mind. Reach out to your local animal shelter, your vet clinics, places like that. Just say thank you to those people that work so hard, to the furry friends that can't help themselves. So let's get started, and let's learn a little bit more about our friend with us today. To start off with, how long have you been part of or interacted with the fandom, and what brought you here to where you are today?
I've been with the fandom probably since about 2005. I blame a particular horse movie that came out in 2003 called Spirit. That's
Aha!
probably what started my interest into exploring more about the movie itself. I just fell in love with it when I was younger. So when jumping online and stuff, sort of found my way around looking up art and whatnot from the movie, found a few roleplay forums that were focused around the movie Spirit, and then they introduced me to furry. So I've explored further into furry, and about 2006 is when Rain was made into an actual fursona. So I was in the fandom before I actually thought of a fursona. But when I was at that time younger and everything, the fandom being as open as it was, more of a community, friends and people I can relate with, that's kind of what drew me into it. So one thing led to another, and that's where I'm at today.
Nice. So 2005 is where you want to gauge about where you started.
I would say so, yeah. 2005 is when I really got more heavy into it. At that time, I had met a furry friend. Her name at the time was Fancy Miss Lady. She was a Clydesdale furry and an artist, and she's actually the one that took the time to sit down with me for, I want to say, back on Skype. That's how far far along it was. But we got on Skype for probably 3 or 4 hours, and she walked me through step by step, asking me questions about what kind of persona I wanted, and that's kind of everything about Rain got made. So
Okay, first off, Skype. You know
yep,
you're old when your history of the fandom starts with Skype.
yeah, that's unfortunately where it started.
No worries, that's where I started. Well, yes and no. It was more of a mix between an IRC chat and Skype. So, yeah, I'm right there with you.
Yep, mine was forums. I don't think forums are much of a thing these days, but back then forums were super popular, so there were a few furry ones back then.
More or less. I mean, they weren't as prominent and easy to find as they are now. Because, granted, I mean, Ask Jeeves, I believe, was still a thing back then.
Correct, yes it was. And so was AOL.
Yes, and Netscape. Trust me, when it comes to age-old references on the internet, I could almost match you, I think.
Probably. I think we grew up in the time of MSN and AOL chat rooms.
Yep.
Yep.
Granted, I wasn't very involved in chat rooms until after high school, of course, but yes, yes.
Same. Same.
1 second. My co-host just messaged me.
Hey.
Guess what? We guessed it.
Oh, we
He
were
had an
correct.
emergency run. So,
Gotcha.
unfortunately, our co-host will not be joining us. So, I will manage it the best I can, of course, with Delta watching the chat. I feel a little bit more at ease because I don't have to I'm not good at dual task.
Multitasking.
Yes. Well, I wouldn't even call it dual task. Anything more than singular task, I get. I just I get brain freeze sometimes. Anyways,
Gotcha.
so moving down the list a little bit, is there anything you do towards contributing to the fandom? Movies, music, art, charity, etc.
Um, well, originally it was I liked to commission art, so that's kind of how Art of Rain ended up all over around the fandom. Then I got into suiting. Uh, I have two suits, two versions of Rain. But when I got my more recent suit of Rain, I wanted to share her more, so that's kind of what sparked my creation.
Hmm.
So a good furry friend of mine that lived up north kind of teamed up with me and went out and took photos and shot video and attended conventions, and then that kind of led into me dabbling with photo and video editing. So I have a little YouTube channel that has a few fursuit things that I've made, mostly just kind of personal pieces, I guess,
Hmm.
uh, about what rain symbolizes and means to me on an emotional and mental level. So, but
Do you
now
still?
it's mostly going around cons and things. I need to make more videos and photos.
Hey, I understand sometimes life just slips away and you just have to split your focus a little bit. Though I will ask, uh, do you still maintain the older suit?
I do. I was much younger and skinnier then, so I don't fit into the full suit, but I still do have the original suit itself.
Hmm.
Um, I'll see if this will work if I can post the photo there. There it is.
Yep.
So that is actually a Rain 1.0, which might lead into a future question. So I won't go into too much depth. But yes, I still have that suit,
Hmm.
just not the full suit these days. It's been modified to be a partial now, but I do wear it from time to time.
Yeah. Alrighty. But yes, you actually are correct that this will lead into the next question. Uh, Granted, we already know it. Are you a suitor? Of course. Uh,
Yep.
so yeah, we don't really need to. We don't really need the prelude on that question. Uh, so who made your suit? How long did it take? And will you decide to improve on it or them? Or is there anything you want to change about the one you have to make it who you really are?
Well, I can start with Rain 1.0 there, the one that I linked. So that one was commissioned and delivered in 2012. That one was from SkyPro, who is famous for doing the Dutch Angel Dragons. The person that runs that Eno is more known as Telephone, if you've
Yep.
seen Telephone running around cons. So she runs SkyPro. I saw her husband, Ciros, has several fursuits made by her as well. He was actually the first horse furry in fursuit that I met at Anthrocon years ago. Just loved the layout of his suit, loved it. I have a picture somewhere, but I can't easily dig it up of Cirrus's first suit. But I just fell in love with Eno's art in Sky Pro. So Rain was commissioned and delivered at Anthrocon 2012.
Mm.
First, of course, the first suit I got, period, was a full suit. I think I was in that suit that Anthrocon for probably 25 to 35 hours. I was in it about 10 to 12 hours a day for the entire convention. Um,
Wow.
Rain 1.0 was a little unique. In the picture, you can kind of see the ears are a little bit bigger. Remember back then, the headset Neko Mimi, those Neko Mimi cat ears?
Yes, 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 I do remember those.
So Rain 1.0, the head is actually built with a Nekomimi headset inside of it, so the ears move and twitch like a real horse.
Wow, I never saw that. I guess I wasn't around the suit enough to witness it.
Yep, it's I think I still have that head, but I think the servos are worn out, so the ears don't work anymore. So I still have the suit, just the ears don't move anymore. But yeah, there's videos floating around YouTube, I think, from another staff member that goes to Anthro Ohio now, and he recorded a few minutes of footage of me in that suit at the time. Um, but yeah, that was kind of my big party piece on that suit. But the ears were fragile. I had to be careful with them. So the plastic inside the servos would break from time to time. So I've had to do several repairs to it. So, but
No.
as time went on, I wore that suit a lot over the years, but as I got older and everything, I didn't fit the full suit anymore. So it's a
Mm.
partial now. I still have it. I still have the whole suit, but it's more of a partial these days.
Right.
And then my newer suit, Rain 2.0, is probably the one people are more familiar with.
Mhm.
A lot more pictures of her shared these days,
Of
but I
course.
commissioned her from a manufacturer on Twitter called BN Creations or BNC. They're
Yep.
sort of famous for curvy suits, but they're also famous for doing caribou. So a lot of caribou furries that you'll see running around are BNC suits.
Yep.
I commissioned my BNC suit for Rain in 2020, and they were delivered in the summer. Both suits from commission to delivery took about probably I was on the waiting list, but keep in mind, but
Yeah.
once work on the suits actually started, they were about 30 to 45 days from start to finish. So from
Wow.
Sky Pro and from BNC, that seems to be the average. Both of them are under 2 months. Um, they're both very communicative, so they're easy to get a hold of. They were walking me through every step of the way, but I got Rain 2.0 and just fell in love. So one of the pictures you've got in your picture collage floating around looks like I'm in a retail store. I actually took her dress shopping that day, and we are inside of a Torrid store getting dresses for Rain. So the employees at Torrid actually measured Rain. Yep, that one there.
Yep.
We were inside the Torrid store, and I went there to go dress shopping. So the dress I'm wearing is actually me trying on dresses. I still have that dress,
Hmm.
but I bought several that day. But it was very, very unique and very interesting. Walking in, the employees were as professional as possible. They took measurements. We got her dress size, and I've shopped at Torrid several times since then just because of that. But uh, taken her around, shared her at different cons, of course, after the pandemic ended, and I was able to. So it was
Mhm.
probably that would have been 2021. So I think convention wise, I debuted her at Anthro, or not Anthro, Ohio. It was actually Midwest Fur Fest 2021, the first one back.
Yep.
Is when I debuted her at a convention. So been trying to wear her as much as I can at conventions since then.
Mhm.
I took a little bit of a break in 2022, 2023 for different personal reasons, but
Right, right, right.
um, yeah. So that's a new 2025 is a new year and a new season of conventions. So I'll see if I can do some that are around the Midwest US and try to attend more if I can and share her more.
Of course. Now, with when you got the first suit originally from BNC, did they offer like a set of care instructions? How to package, transport, wear, clean, etc.
Yes. and it's actually kind of the same that SkyPro had, and a good Ohio fur friend of mine, uh, Starcat, I think his name was. It's been probably 10 years. He's actually the one that gave me a lot of hands-on experience with suit care and suit packing, suit washing, and all that stuff, which is what I do today. He was able to actually help me come up with a fursuit care kit. So we went to Joanne Fabrics, and he's the one that's like, this is the stuff that you want to pack with you for fursuit repairs at cons, to sew and glue and fix things if I need to, kind of a thing. But
Hmm.
I learned a lot from him, but it's the same, almost the same care instructions from SkyPro and BNC. So
Nice. Uh, will BNC offer repairs if ever serious damage is done?
yes, both SkyPro and BNC will. So, but I'm the kind of person that even if they don't ask for payment, I still tend to send them payment.
Of course. I mean, something of that quality, I mean, you got to learn to respect and love it all at the same time.
Oh, I love it. I love it. The fursuit is amazing. Words cannot describe how much she means to me. So
It's a part of you that you now can be a part of.
yes, she is. I can wear her, and Rain is me on a more personal scale.
Hmm.
Personas back then were literally you, because I know some younger furries that have multiple personas, so they think some of the other characters I have are other personas of me, and I'm like, nope, it's just Rain. Rain is me. So in every aspect of every way.
Yep. Now, of course, you're not saying anything like, people with one persona or multiple personas mean makes it any less worthwhile or precious to
Oh
them.
no, no. It's just when I got into the fandom, that was kind of the norm at the time. Everyone had one persona, so
Yeah. Yeah, apparently Dust Tone loves Rain 2.0.
yes. I see that. I have plenty of pictures to share, so
Hey, feel free to do so. Uh, you could either post them in blessed images or image dump or real life images. Any place there, we don't really we're not really too picky about that. Uh,
awesome. That works
A-
for me.
Aenir, you said you wanted to do that back in high school, so jelly. So I'm assuming that you mean you wanted to get a fursuit made. Uh, I'm not sure how big the delay is right now, so I'm not sure how long we're going to be waiting for a response from them on that. But
About 20
Oh,
seconds.
20 seconds. Okay.
You forgot to set the latency to very low. So
Yeah, yeah, I know.
everybody's getting stupid high fidelity, but they're waiting 20 seconds.
I know, I know. Oh, referring to the ears, the mechanical ears on Rain 1.0,
yes.
the servos and whatnot, which
Oh, those Nekamimi ears, yes.
it's something that has definitely advanced with the times a bit.
I don't Are they even still around? I
I
don't know if
mean,
they're still a thing.
I feel like I've seen them like with LEDs, and I'm not sure if I okay. The first time I seen 1.0 Rain was at 2018 at your panel. I don't really remember seeing the ears move, but I possibly wasn't paying close enough attention if you were doing it.
What year was it?
2018 MFF.
Uh by then the ears were stationary just because they kept breaking. they're
Ah, I
extre-
gotcha.
they're very fragile, so I had to rig them to eventually be stationary.
I see. Aenir says, yeah, they're still around. The ears, Neko ears.
Oh, awesome.
I don't keep up with the times too well. Fads and
So you're
trends.
fine.
I haven't been to a convention since 2019, so I'm a little bit behind. There you go, Dusk.
I've got plenty of pictures to share.
That's some good lighting on that one.
Yes, it is. That was actually at Northern Ohio. It was a covered bridge that's 100 and some years old that's still in use. So we had to actually park and walk down to it, and cars were still driving by as we were trying to get pictures. So it was fun.
The outdoor hooves, are they like, is it something that you put over your regular shoe, or is it something that you have to put like a Dr. Scholl's or something to match your arch while you walk?
Yes and no. So on Rain 2.0 from BNC, I only have one set of hooves. So inside, outside, it's the same set of hooves.
Oh,
Um, Rain 1.0 though actually had two sets of hooves. One set of them actually had horseshoes on the bottom of them, so if I walked on the balls of my feet, I would clop.
oh,
So those were kind of a more outdoorsy shoe, but if I could wear them on certain floor surfaces, they were aluminum, so it would scratch marble and other kind of materials and things at the time. But
yeah.
they're mostly built around outdoorsy shoes, so they have built-in arch supports and everything with them already, so they're comfortable to run around in for 10 hours at a convention.
They People always wonder how suitors are able to withstand being inside. I mean, furry sweatshops all day.
Hydration. That's the secret. Hydration.
Hydration and stubbornness. Just got to keep
Yes.
ignoring it. Up to a certain point, but this is why they have handlers for some suitors. Because they'll ignore it well past beyond the point of safety, and then the handler is like, nope, I'm kicking your ass into the headless lounge now.
Yep.
Any handler stories?
Don't really have any. One of the first times I went public suiting was in Rain 1.0. In Columbus, we have an arts district, and Anthro, Ohio does the very first Saturday of the month in the arts district is something called Gallery Hop. So a lot of the bars and restaurants and art galleries are open, and you just can walk up and down the streets. So a lot of the local Ohio furries will do a fursuit walk, and that was probably my first major story outside of conventions. We had handlers, yes, but one of the bars and restaurants at the time was actually owned by a friend of a furry. So at the time, we'd go all the way down to one end of the arts district and walk back. But when we made it to the one end, it was a restaurant where we could actually kind of like a miniature headless lounge. We could cool off and stuff. But the one time that was my first time with tail pullers. So that would be my interaction. We were trying to make our way to the back of the bar to where the privates rooms were so we could cool off and get drinks and order food for us, and people at the bar were having fun pulling the tails of a lot of the furries walking by. So
yeah,
that's my first time of that being uncomfortable.
Yeah. FYI, for those who are unfamiliar with fursuits, pulling a fursuiter's tail is just as bad as pulling a real animal's tail. So yeah, it's not recommended.
Yes,
you're gonna have to pay for the damages.
It is frowned upon, unfortunately, but a lot of normies will do that. So that's probably my really own negative handler story. I don't really have any negative stories with handlers. Most of my handlers have been close friends of mine that have helped me out, and most of the time your handler's there to also try to be a second set of eyes for you just in case. But both of my fursuits actually have really good vision. So over half the time I'll wander around without a handler because I don't need one. So
yeah, a lot of people are surprised by, even though it doesn't look like it on the surface, those little eye holes are actually pretty good at providing sight.
A lot of peripheral vision.
Mm-hmm.
But I may not be able to see stuff directly in front of me.
Yeah. The biggest restriction that all suitors have, I believe, is of course hearing while the head is
Um,
on.
I would probably say actually no, vision is probably the number one thing. If you've
Hmm.
ever done motorcycle riding, it's about hearing restriction is about as restrictive as wearing a motorcycle helmet. So, I mean, yes, you have foam and stuff around you, but around your head and around your ears and all that. But no, out of all your senses, vision's probably the most restricted, I'd say. But
Hmm.
it depends on fursuits. I know another Ohio furry that's a friend of mine has a rhino fursuit,
Oh
and
my.
his name is Notch. And his major blind spot is, unironically, his horn. So when he's walking, you'll actually see him bob his head side to side, but that's because he's constantly scanning in front of him to make sure he doesn't run into anything. But it's kind of cute to watch the rhino go down the street and he's just sitting there bobbing his head left and right. So I was like, "Are you doing that so you can see?" And he's like, "Yep,"
I mean,
because he can.
he's making himself look more authentic, like a real rhino. Because whenever you see, videos of rhinos, they're always shaking their heads.
Notch definitely is, God bless him. So he's a wonderful person, but it's adorable to watch him walk around in suit and bob his head just because he needs to see.
Oh, all right. Let's see. Where were we? Oh yes. We really got into that one, and I'm happy that we got so much out on that. That's really wonderful. Uh, Based on your choice of Sona, do you feel it represents your personality, or do you want to be more like it emotionally? Is there anything you feel like sharing from your real life that you also incorporated to your Sona? But if you want to go down a different route based on your character that you've selected, is there any, well, based on your Sona, is there anything behind why you picked them?
So, yes, there's actually a lot behind why I picked Rain in particular. Outside of what other people normally pick horses for, cough.
Right, right.
But no, so again, going back to the movie Spirit, that movie really, really strung a chord with me when I found that movie and just had to watch it again and again. But one of the major things about it was Rain is actually a Mustang breed, just like Spirit is in the movie. And there's a few different reasons for that. Um, I would probably say at the time when I was younger, Mustangs being free spirited, being a free spirit that the world is trying to tame. It, again, kind of following the theme of the movie itself.
Mm-hmm.
But I was never really one to go with the flow when I was younger. I was definitely the black sheep of the family. So just kind of the symbolism that Mustangs represented, especially from the movie and in the movie itself, representing inner strength and vitality, uh, with free spiritedness, unwilling to be tamed and stuff like that. When I was younger, I was not one for going with the flow. I was not one with you just duck your head and go down the road kind of a thing. That's probably the first thing with the symbolism of horses in the movies. So that's when I was talking to Fancy Miss Lady why it's like, definitely I want to have Rain as a Mustang. But going even deeper into the lore of horses, mostly just what they symbolize over time. Horses have been used for thousands of years for building whole civilizations. My career choice and my job has had me going into the skilled trades, plumbing specifically. So
Mm-hmm.
I've done lots of construction, lots of manual labor over the years. Horses are fantastic for manual labor. They've worked hard over the centuries to help build where we are to this day. Uh, they're also beasts of burden. Another major characteristic and personality quirk that I have is I love to help people. So horses are beasts of burden. I say that a lot, especially when furry friends are in need and need help. I'll drop what I'm doing. I have countless stories of me helping. There's a few good furry friends of mine. One bought his first house and was remodeling his house and was constantly messaging me and video chatting with me about how to fix different things in his house. I've helped friends and family in emergencies when they had no hot water or the heat was turned off in the middle of winter, and I dropped everything I was doing, not expecting anything in return, just to try to help them out. My own health be damned. So I hurt my back over the years doing construction, and I know it's in 2 seconds I drop everything I'm doing to go help them. So even if it hurts my back in the end, as long as I can rub my back and look back that I helped them to get their hot water going again, or get their heat turned on, or help them with that plumbing issue that was going on, to me that resonates really deeply with equines, and again, being beasts of burden and all that. And then lastly, I'd say probably horses are powerful but gentle creatures. So that also kind of reflects based on me in life over the years of doing construction. That's led me to be a boss, and I ran a company for a number of years. So I had plumbers and employees underneath of me that I was responsible for helping and training and making sure they were doing their job correctly, but also making sure that they would go home safely and on time. And I try to do that with an air of calm and gentle level-headedness. I'm not like a lot of bosses because of that. It's actually led to a few situations where I've been walked over because I'm too kind sometimes. But that's just the way I am. So, I mean, I'm a very gentle and calm and loving person, but that tends to lead to me sometimes being taken advantage of. But
Well, there too, horses also have a temperamental side where, you mess with us enough, you're going to get kicked or you're going to get bit if you screw with us too
yeah,
much.
thankfully no one has ever messed with me to that level, but yes.
Yep. So yeah, I
Well,
mean, you've pretty much got the whole thing going
oh
between
yes,
you and horses personality wise. You're able to make your sacrifices, keep pushing forward, c- carry the load, and just help everyone else around you move forward.
that's the
So,
goal. If in the end everyone is happier and healthier and better off for it,
indeed.
indeed.
Now, we're going to get a little bit deeper into things.
Okay.
Being a furry and or brony, walking among society, do you feel more or less alone than before you became what you are? Has it opened up more opportunities towards making friends?
I would definitely agree. So, kind of leading back into earlier, um, that was one major attraction I had to the fandom, was just how open and friendly the community was back then in 2012 and earlier. That was extremely important to me. Um, some of my first interactions within the fandom online were a few different furry forums, and I met a few good friends from those forums that I'm still friends with today. If you were to look at my overall social circle, furry is very important. A lot, if not most, of my social circle is involved in the fandom in some way or another, outside of family. Um, a few good friends of mine over the years have helped me through thick and thin, and it's helped forge very personal relationships. But none of it would be possible without the fandom being what the fandom is today. For lack of a better term, it's kind of extremely hard to put into words. It's more emotional for me, but I've met a lot of amazing people over the years. I couldn't even begin to name everybody and all my friends that I've met and interacted with over the years, and the memories. And uh, I felt more at home within the fandom than I did before I met the fandom. Definitely, that's why I try to be as involved as I can be these days, and I have always tried to be involved when I can.
Hmm.
Mostly just because it's not just a community, it's a family. So it's very difficult to put it into words and describe it beyond that. I mean, some of the best and worst times in my life have been helped out, or I wasn't alone. There was always someone there to help me, and they were always a furry. So
Agreed.
agreed.
In perspective, okay, pretty much there's a level of reality that other people outside of the fandom see, but then you look into that mirror and you see the reflections of yourself and those that you have met in the community in that mirror, knowing that they are there as well as those outside of the fandom. Because once you have taken that step and opened up your mind a little bit to more to a greater concept than just human beings just doing human being stuff. You explore what the animal kingdom has to offer as well.
Yeah. So most definitely in that aspect, because that's kind of led into me over the years. Staffing a convention, Anthro, Ohio. I've been with them for about 10 years before I retired from staffing. But over the years, that really, really heavily led into me involving getting with the local charities around Central Ohio. And uh, our fur baby, always have to have a rescue fur baby in the family. So over the years, I've rescued 2 different dogs.
Aw.
Um, yeah. So um, I just
Now,
love helping
I
out when
am.
I can.
You said 2 dogs, so you know what I'm gonna ask, and those probably in the chat are probably going to ask. Do you
Yes.
have
So,
anything to share with us?
oh, maybe I'll have to look. I don't know how easily I can dig up those photos. Uh, the first dog we rescued was probably 2000. When that be 2016? Actually drove 2.5 hours to go pick her up. Was a vanilla Labrador Retriever. Her name is Sadie. So ended up picking her up and rescuing her from a shelter that was in northern Ohio. Her story was that she was found on the streets roaming around Texas. I don't know if it was like Dallas or not,
Wow.
but she ended up in a shelter down in Texas, and I think she was 9 months old at that time. And Sadie ended up uh, the shelter, unfortunately, was a high turnover shelter and a high kill shelter. So she was already kind of on a timeline of that if she didn't get adopted out within a certain time frame, they would have to euthanize her to make room because the shelter had such a high turnover rate. Um, so Sadie most definitely was lucky that there was the shelter out of northern Ohio
Aw.
ran by a husband-wife team that the husband drove down from Ohio all the way down there to Texas to pick up Sadie and one other dog and to bring them back to Ohio from the shelter. Uh, so I think she was there at the shelter for maybe, I'd want to say 2 or 3 weeks before we ended up getting her. So she um, most definitely had kind of a rough first year of her life because within 2 months that we had her, she was in Texas, and then in a shelter there, and then in Ohio in a different shelter, and then with us. So she had a lot of anxiety when we got her and everything. But we had her for since 2016, and then I separated from my wife at the time. So her and my wife were very close. So when my wife and I separated, I made sure that Sadie went with my wife, just because they were super tight. So when Sadie went off with my ex, I ended up rescuing another dog who is currently behind me, making sure the bed doesn't float away. But more importantly, he is looking out the window to make sure the neighborhood crooks don't come by. I think I have pictures of him on my phone. I just gotta find them.
No worries, no
uh,
rush, no rush.
but he is a 30-pound Australian Shepherd mix. He's a
Oh,
little over a year old, so he's smaller than Sadie is. But he is very, very rambunctious and such a troublemaker. So his name is Jax, but definitely over the year and a half that we've had him, he's also gotten the nickname Dennis the Menace, just because he is, if something happens and he's involved. Wait a minute, why
oh.
did the loaf of bread disappear from the counter?
Oh, I
Wait a
thought
minute.
Australian Shepherds were docile.
Oh no, he's a little troublemaker. He is. Dennis the Menace likes to get into things, so he's the Sadie wasn't quite as rambunctious as he was, so definitely gotta make sure that things aren't on the floor that you don't want chewed up. And
Oh boy.
I mean, he didn't get anything. I think he got like socks were his number one thing for a while, so he would definitely go after socks. But after that, he's kind of calmed down a little bit, but still can't let him into the around where the trash cans are, and can't let him into the bathroom because he'll get into the trash, things like that. But yeah, we tend to supervise him a little bit more often, just to make sure he stays out of trouble.
Yeah, I've been around Australian Shepherds before, and I don't envy you.
He's my first. I've always had Labradors, and Labradors are always more docile and calm, but he is definitely more wild than any of the Labradors I've ever had.
Yeah, but I'm sure that, he does everything he can to protect you. He protect.
Uh,
Well,
maybe everyone is a friend. So
oh
I'm
no.
sure if someone breaks in the door and starts coming in to rob us blind, he'll be right there trying to jump on them. Oh my God, pet me! Oh my God, pet me!
Yeah, they got the wiggle butt, don't they?
Oh, he does definitely. He'll definitely. It's hard to take him out for a walk because in his harness he'll start hopping, and he'll hop on his hind legs, and he'll start hopping and pulling towards the other person or the other dog because he wants attention.
Oh my. Yeah, I don't envy you.
He is definitely full of energy. Very, very full of energy.
I mean, we kind of covered this a little bit, but I'll go ahead and ask it anyways in case there's something else you want to add. During your day-to-day since becoming part of the fandom, what are some things that you started doing differently in your life?
I would probably say my interaction with the public and others. Again, I've already kind of grazed over this
Hmm.
and beat this horse to
Yeah,
death earlier, but
yeah.
I'm an extremely gentle and kind person, and calm and level-headed and loving. And I would say definitely since I've been involved within the fandom that has been slowly amplified over the years. Um, so that's I was once a boss and a business owner at one time, but I eventually had to stop just because I was a tad too nice. And now what I do now for my career, I'm a bit too nice. I
Mm,
should be more strict and a more firm than what I am now, but that's whether you want to consider that as a plus or a personality flaw. It'll probably forever be tied with me. Just how gentle and calm and level-headed I am. That's just the way I am, and ever since being involved in the fandom, that has just kind of been turned up to Spinal Tap 11. So
I would say as long as your heart doesn't become hardened, I'd say you're on the right track.
definitely my heart is way too soft. I don't know how that would happen, but it's definitely too soft and will probably stay soft.
It's actually a dying thing, I think, anymore. It's because
Really?
with, at least from my perspective, is that it's so easy for people to take advantage of you, and you don't really get the mental abuse, but you kind of feel it in a secondary sense, and then it makes you wonder if you've done good or not if you don't actually hear it from them.
Yeah,
And then you
that makes
wonder
sense.
if you've tripped up somewhere, if something has failed or broken. Then you kind of want to retract from society a little bit. You, on the other hoof, you feel you make it sound as though you go past those obstacles. You go past those those mental blocks, and you just push past it, and you say, you know what? Screw what society thinks. I'm going to keep doing better and better and better.
That's what I try to do. I mean, especially given how everything has been over the last 5 or 6 years, definitely trying to constantly better myself, and my heart remains soft because of all that. So,
Well, common sense, of course, but I would say just don't let your heart become hardened, and it'll I just use your head and your heart at the same time.
yes, instead of my head most of the time.
If that don't work, just shake Reigns 2.0's big old booty around. That'll get some people's attention real fast, especially a certain kind of people.
Yes, yes.
Oh, anyways, well, let's move on before I drag on this subject too much. All right, we do have one final main question to ask. So, let's just say you're at a convention. There is a person that comes up to you, and they're just totally new to the scene. They're like, okay, I saw this thing for what's called a furry convention online. I got a ticket, and I came in here, and I'm like, okay, I have no clue what I'm doing. I don't know where to start. I don't know what furry really is. All I knew it had something to do with about animals. But, is there anything that comes to mind to the people who are new to the furry scene? What is some advice that you would like to give to them?
Are we talking to the level of they want to know what furry is, or more interested in the first time at the convention?
Well, I use convention as a reference, but to what furry is.
The typical explanation that I tell, such as if my mom asks what furry is and all that, is related to. I usually relate it to other events and other conventions. So, for example, here in Columbus, there is an event once a year called Origins. And Origins is a fairly large convention that comes through that is a general fantasy sci-fi convention. So that's where you'll see the people dressed up as stormtroopers and Darth Vaders, and you'll see Jedi, you'll see Star Trekkies, you will see people dressed up as Lord of the Rings characters and Urukai. You'll see fantasy cosplayers. most people are familiar with other cosplay and other fandoms, so that's usually my first reference. Is furry is a fandom, but instead of us being into Star Wars or Lord of the Rings, we're more into cartoon characters. Everything from Hanna-Barbera's earlier 1960s, 1950s cartoons, all the way up to modern day with, I'm not even sure what's on TV these days, but like Paw Patrol and other cartoons that have come and gone over the years. It's just a fandom that loves cartoons. That's kind of a good starting point. So that's why you'll see people dressed up as cartoon characters from time to time, and just a different fandom, just like the Star Trekkies and the Star Wars guys are.
There you go. You know, you're the first one that I've had on here that has never I don't think you've mentioned Disney once.
I have not.
So you're one, for episode 30, that's a pretty good run for 29 other guests that I've had on here. Every single one of them has mentioned Disney to some extent as an influence in their furry fandom adventure.
Journey.
Yeah, that too. You're not the
No,
first for
not-
Hanna-Barbera, though. I'm sorry.
Darn. Maybe DreamWorks?
Actually, I can't recall anybody using DreamWorks. I don't think so. Maybe in the earlier episodes.
Because Zootopia is Disney, isn't it?
It is.
It is. Okay. Zootopia is probably the most recent major movie for a spike of interest within the fandom, I'd say.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, the older generation furries will more or less use, like, the biggest influencer, of course, was, Disney's Robin Hood.
Yep.
At least for our generation going forward. These days, influencers such as, like, BoJack Horseman, just to throwing out an example there. What's another one?
BoJack. What's the Australian kids TV show? Bluey. Bluey is
Yes.
another one I've run into.
Yep.
Bluey I've run into. Zootopia, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I have not really been up to date and kept up to date on more recent movies and television.
Well, television almost doesn't even exist anymore. It's all streaming services
Yes.
anymore.
I have
People are
not
gonna
kept
wonder-
up, unfortunately.
What's an antenna?
What's an antenna? Wait, you're telling me that you didn't have a smartphone growing up? What? What?
It's a sad state of things, because kids won't even know what does it mean for Saturday morning cartoons.
Unfortunately, they will not. Waking up and it's Animaniacs, and then afterwards, of course, always got to have Batman Beyond.
Yep.
Though when I was younger, I also enjoyed the movie or the TV show SWAT Cats.
There you go.
I have that on DVD, which I believe SWAT Cats is also Hanna-Barbera.
It is. It's a more modern Hanna-Barbera cartoon, but yes, it is. I mean, things like Yogi Bear, Droopy Dog, Horace Horsecollar. I mean, those are the classics.
The classic Looney Tunes and Hanna-Barberas.
Yep, Tom and Jerry.
My favorite was Bugs Bunny. I always enjoyed Bugs Bunny. And a friend always pointed out, too, that, hey, Bugs Bunny was one of the first cartoon characters you probably saw that would cross-dress.
Yep.
For those going through their own gender identities.
Yep, and Bugs Bunny made a name back in the 40s.
Yes. Before everyone else did.
Yep. Of course, Bugs Bunny's biggest reputation is of course, the meme for Big Chungus anymore.
I don't know if I'm familiar with that one.
It's an episode of where Bugs Bunny slightly transforms. He gets a little heftier around the middle, trying to imitate Elmer Fudd. And
Ah, okay.
it's one of the memes that he
Okay.
has.
I'm familiar with
I'm
the
getting a
episode.
brain hemorrhage by proxy listening to this. Oh,
Delta knows what I'm talking about.
unfortunately, considering my proclivities.
Right.
Unfortunately, I'm familiar with the episode, but I'm not familiar with the meme, so
Fair enough.
I have been spared.
But yeah, it's a society that has been influenced not only by cartoons, but also by art and even history. I mean, as far back as the Egyptian cultures.
Oh yes, very, very much so, because that's back a lot of the old religious symbols and stuff back to Egyptian culture were related to animals. Animals?
No, aminals is
Cats.
correct. we accept the term aminals around here.
So, and what's the Egyptian canine?
Crud. There's Osiris, Anubis.
Anubis. There we go. Anubis probably being the most influential, I'd say.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, the furry fandom has been around just as long as religion. People just don't really see it that way in some aspects.
They do not, unfortunately, but as quoted from a recent documentary on the fandom and all that, it's been around more or less than what you realize. I mean, learning about different foods and different advertising items from talking animals, learning right from wrong from talking animals, learning about morals and society from talking animals. It's been around a lot longer than it's been a fandom, I'd say. So
Oh yeah, you can't walk down the cereal aisle without half of the mascots being animal related.
exactly. So, and then was there any? What I know, War of the Worlds back in the 19 teens and 20s was definitely a major radio show at that time, a story show. Was there any back then that were even maybe animal focused?
I don't recall any offhand. Or off hoof, for that matter. Aenir is more into the macabre. I believe they might have a few references for that. But
Getting deep into pop culture now.
yeah. I can't really think of any. That is something that's I'm gonna have to look that up later on to see if there was any related to that. I mean, even as something as simple as the short-lived series, at least I think it was short-lived on television. Book-wise, I know it went for a while. Animorphs.
Yes, the book series as well. Couldn't have a scholastic school day without Animorphs.
Yep. Oh, Aenir. What the question was is that there was a War of the Worlds series. Was there any references to animals or anthropomorphic? So I read so much Animorphs in elementary school. I actually didn't mess with Animorphs until junior high myself. I wasn't a big reader until later on in life, which I regret not being. Let's see, Animorphs. Okay, not to. Ainer says, not to my knowledge.
That answers the question.
But there's a but at the end of that. Which means it's an open-ended statement. Okay. Yep, they're going to reread the World of War stuff now.
This is the War of the Worlds.
Yep. Okay. Granted, it wasn't really as, it wasn't meant like a transfer. It wasn't, anthropomorphic or any of the sense. But there was another kind of book-related series that not many people seem to remember, Wishbone.
I remember Wishbone. That was one of the wasn't that one of the Sunday morning cartoon shows?
Yeah, it was part of PBS, I believe, mostly. But it involved a little terrier dog that had it might have been the voice of Michael J. Fox for some reason. I don't know why I'm thinking it was Michael J. Fox now, but I do not think that's right. I don't know if Wishbone had a book series, Aenir. I think it was just a television series. And what it did, he mostly it was like he would play as like the main roles of famous books like Sherlock Holmes, Frankenstein, Count Dracula's vampire. Let's see. I believe I can't remember all. It's probably been a good, I don't know, 25 years since I've seen it.
Yeah.
But anyways, we probably
From
need to...
my
Go ahead.
Oh,
Go
I was
ahead.
to say, from my own quick Google fooing, actually during the early 1930s, from 1933 to 1936, there was a popular children's radio show about Cinnamon the Bear, which was a children's adventure series with talking animals focusing on moral lessons. So there was.
Okay, that's going to have to be a history piece that we're going to have to cover in the future.
Cinnamon Bear.
Bear.
Yep. The Cinnamon Bear.
Okay, is it Berenstein Bears or Berenstein Bears?
Neither, I believe.
Oh? Which do you remember it as? Don't look it up.
Oh, Berenstein Bears is how I remember it.
Berenstain Bears is the actual
pronunciation.
Yep. Yeah, our minds tend to warp it quite often.
Yes, they do.
And yes, I do follow Nostalgia Critic and the Angry Video Game Nerd. And fun fact for those of you watching, the Nostalgia Critic has come out as a furry. So, yeah.
Wait, they have?
Yep. I don't know if you were able to attend the opening of MFF 2018, but he is in fact in the opening ceremony video.
Really?
Yep. I'll never forget that. He had stolen somebody's fursuit head in the video, but I can't remember whose it was. But yeah, in the opening video, the Nostalgia Critic, what's his real name? Walker, is it something Walker? I can't remember. But yeah, he is
Walker.
Doug Walker, yes, thank you. But yeah, he is he has come out as, he doesn't show it quite as much, but he is a member of the furry community.
The more you know.
Because knowledge is power.
Yes, it is.
Anyways, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up for now. we thank our guest, Rain, for joining us today here on Suiting Up for Life. If you have any follow-up questions, guess what? They are in our Discord channel for now, for however long they wish to stay. So if you have any further questions, or if you would like to reach out to them and get to know them a little bit more, you can message them in our Discord channel. And guess what? The link to our Discord channel is... Wait, did I put it? I think I did. I think I put it in the description. But yeah, all you have to do is click that little link below to join our Discord channel if you wish to ask Rain. Now, I expect those of you that ask questions to be, mature about it. Because I know that there are some of you out there that probably have other ideas in mind. But please be respectful. But anyways, we thank Rain for joining us here today. Any closing statements, Rain?
I currently have none besides enjoy the rest of your weekend and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, Rain. Anyways, we thank you one and all for joining us here on the Omega Republic. We hope to see you here next time. I have been Coppercap, your host. Delta Kruger has been the monitor of the YouTube chat. And we hope... And we enjoy having you with us. We enjoy having our guests with us. And we hope to see you here next time, here on the Omega Republic.